Hello and welcome to New Frontiers on CCTV International. I'm Ji Xiaojun in Beijing, and today we're continuing our series Chinese Civilization, in which we are tracing the evolution of Chinese civilization through an investigation of archaeological discoveries, historical sites, and cultural relics. Now, Chinese agriculture had two distinct origins. One was the region along the Yellow River in the north. The other was the Yangtze River. In today's program, we are focusing on the earliest days of Chinese civilization in the Yangtze River area. 6,000 years ago, on and around the Jianghan Plain bordering the Yangtze River, there was a relatively well-developed civilization. People had already been growing rice in the area for thousands of years.
Beginning from 5,000 years ago, when the Yellow River gave birth to Yan Di, or the Yan Emperor, and Huang Di, the Yellow Emperor, the two greatest heroes in Chinese antiquity, people in this land started to call themselves Chinese. With the seeds of civilization planted 10,000 years ago sprouting, growing, and blooming in the Central Plain, the development of Chinese culture was gathering momentum. A great nation was about to be born. By 6,000 years ago, around the Jianghan Plain in the Yangtze River area, culture was already fairly well developed, as can be seen from the beautiful pottery cups, bowls, and pots produced. Of all the pottery made, the most unique was white pottery with decorative patterns in low relief, doubtless the highest artistic attainment in the China of prehistory. People had already begun to grow rice several thousand years before, and of course, rice remains an important crop to the present day. The remote village of Changtoushan beside Dongting Lake in Lixian County, Hunan Province became famous in 1996 when the remains of an ancient city were discovered. The city occupied an area of 88,000 square meters, and enclosing the town was a city wall 13 meters wide on top and 35 meters thick at the bottom. Surrounding the wall was a 30-meter wide trench. Incredibly, this city flourished 6,000 years ago, and its size was almost too huge to imagine.
这种城市的出现，应该是文明化非常明显的一个标志。而这个标志，我们过去都不敢想象。我们以前以为是夏商周这个时候才有城，结果是在史前，在夏商周以前。你比如陈头山吧，陈头山是公元前4000年左右，它就有城了，啊，也就是离开现在6000多年。
The ground inside the ancient city has risen to the height of the city walls due to deposits caused by human activities and processes of nature. Today, the ground is used for growing rice. But what was it like here 6,000 years ago? When archaeologists carefully removed the layers of accumulated earth, revealed in front of them was an ancient rice field, exactly the same in appearance as a field of rice today. Incredibly, the soil still carried the fragrance of rice from 6,000 years ago. But perhaps this was not too surprising, as rice growing in the Dongting Lake area can be traced back to 10,000 years ago.
这个最近2年，我跟美国哈佛大学的一个考古队合作，在那里又发现了几粒稻子，这个是正儿八经的稻子。这种稻子呢，又像野生稻，又像栽培稻，这就证明是刚刚开始驯化的，这个刚刚栽培没多久的。那你不是找起源吗？这就是起源的时间。什么年代呢？公元前1万多年，不可能再早了。世界上没有一个地方的农作物有找得这么早的。
But rice was not only available in the middle reaches of the Yangtze. About 7,000 years ago, a group of people had arrived at a point further down the river in Hemudu, Yuyao County, Zhejiang Province, and they became the first settlers in this area. When a large archaeological excavation was conducted here in 1973, a highly significant cultural layer was discovered. This layer, left by Hemudu people, was 4 meters thick, and it told of life here 7,000 years ago. Excavation of the site revealed that rice had been planted in large quantities. In fact, a number of well-preserved golden rice grains and green rice leaves were found. From what they examined, archaeologists were able to determine the quantity of rice that had been stored in this place, 120 tons, enough to feed 500 people for a year. It isn't difficult to imagine a mealtime scene here 7,000 years ago when the air would have been permeated with the fragrance of cooked rice. Some burned rice can still be seen inside this pot. Besides farming rice, Hemudu people kept pigs and cattle and grew a wide leaf plant as a vegetable. But Hemudu people were not only agricultural. They were also artistic, as can be seen from the numerous works that impress even the most critical contemporary eyes. Depictions of the sea, playful birds amid waves, and the golden sunrise all found their way into the artistic works of Hemudu people. This ivory carving features the rising sun on each side and 2 birds looking at each other, the first phoenixes to take to the Chinese sky. The houses of Hemudu people were built on wooden platforms that rose well above ground level. Their houses somewhat resembled birds' nests, and obviously building such a house was no easy job. First, piles were erected to support the floors, to which were then added beams and a roof. But the best thing about such a house was that it was waterproof, and this made it ideal for the local environment. It seems incredible, but 7,000 years ago, craftsmen in Hemudu were using wooden brackets in house construction, and they were using very advanced joining techniques when laying floors. The use of wooden brackets and wood joining techniques are essential in traditional Chinese house construction, and they are still used even today. But the revelation that Hemudu people invented them during the Stone Age before the discovery and use of metals is astonishing. But after living in this area for 1,700 years, Hemudu people suddenly vanished. Where did they go? Nobody knows for sure. It is as if they were birds that simply flew away, never to return.
中国文明就是独立发生，是一个强势文明，而且一直传承到现在，没有中断。世界上没有第二个文明是这样的，没有第二个文明有这样强势，没有第二个文明没有中断。
It was strange that the Hermudu people, having spent 1700 years attaining a relatively advanced state of civilization, should suddenly have vanished. Within a few centuries, a new culture called Liangzhu began to develop in the area, and it would give rise to a brilliant jade culture.
It is a day 5,000 years ago, and a ceremonial funeral is in progress. The body of the deceased, a king, has been laid on the finest brocade, and a jade axe, a symbol of his supreme control over his mighty army even after death, is about to be placed beside the dead king's body, with all reverence, by a sorcerer. But yet more jade objects will be added, among them an object used to communicate with heaven, known as a tung, the presence of which beside the king indicates that he is the sorcerer of sorcerers. All the jade objects are intended to enable the king to continue his life of luxury in the other world, but rather than a ceremony to bury the king, this is a ceremony to make him immortal. But who were these people, and what, if anything, did they contribute to the development of Chinese civilization? What did they leave behind for later generations? It has always been known that the area comprising the lower reaches of the Yangtze River has an abundance of lakes, and that this makes it a paradise on earth. But for archaeologists, it is what lies under this paradise